There's no doubt the Nashville Predators have struggled quite a bit this regular season. So I'm just going to say that I talk about in various videos mostly about Canadian hockey, basketball, and soccer teams. But so why am I flipping to the Nashville Predators? Well, it's been 5 straight losses over the regular season. And there's also a very interesting parallel between this season's Preds and the Habs of the 2021-22 season. Those Habs started off with a 0-5-0 win regulation loss, OT loss, shootout loss record. It's hard not to notice the parallels between between this season's Preds and that season's Habs. There are some differences. Among them, number one, the Preds got nowhere near a Stanley Cup final during the most recently concluded season, while the Habs during the season before their disastrous 2021-22 one got to a Stanley Cup final, even at a losing cause. Another key difference, that key difference is that the Preds lost their 2024 opening round playoff series, while the Habs came back from 3 games to 1 deficit against the Leafs to win that series, and then going on to beat the Winnipeg Jets, Golden Knights for a date with the Bolts. During that very unusual season, disrupted by COVID, it was a season where all Canadian teams had been placed into one division, and all but the Habs only played those teams. The Habs got to play the Golden Knights and Bolts due to having won the division final. So I'll go back to an interesting. I've watched quite a few episodes, even subscribed to the Locked On Preds podcast, part of the Locked On Sports series of podcasts. There's no question these Ann Kimmel and Emma Langen, whatever her name is, the latter from the Hockey News, and another host of a very prominent Nashville radio show, the Penalty Box Radio. So watch those episodes, and I can't think the parallels between the Habs of 2021-22 and this Preds. Barry Trotz, GM, got that job, I believe, during the 2023 offseason. So this is his second season as GM. TSN scouting director Craig Button, early in November, during an episode of SportsCenter, claimed that Marc Bergevin, then the GM of the Habs, or the Montreal Canadiens, or I refer to the Habs from this point onward, had deserved to be faulted for that disastrous offseason. Radical changes. There had been a bunch of players that had left the Habs after that Stanley Cup final, that appears in the Stanley Cup final, and that that blame had deserved to be pointed at the feet of Bergevin. And yes, it was just all across the board. I understand that the use by Button of the controversial French language expression "sacre bleu" prompted a firestorm of debate across much of Quebec, and perhaps Button should have used tabarnak. But regardless of what happens, to me, there's no question that this Nashville Predator season, indeed, yes, there was only one game that took place on Monday, Eastern Daylight Time. That was the Leafs' home game against the Bolts. And yes, coincidentally, a team from what the U.S. Census Bureau calls the South, which is Florida. So Tampa's in western Florida, along with the Gulf of Mexico coast. But the game took place at Scotiabank Arena. I didn't watch that game. Get more of that later. But again, there's no question that, that the Habs, 2021-22, started off poorly and finished poorly. And yes, those Habs didn't fall to 10 or more points out until sometime in November. These Preds may very well fall at some point this week to 10 or more points out. I mean, after all, the Western Conference standings are the same on this Monday evening Eastern Daylight Time as they were after games that had concluded by this Monday morning EDT. In other words, the Preds 8 points out of the nearest available playoff spot. Who would have thought the Preds would have gotten sunk so low? I mean, I'd seen the Preds going into this regular season as being one of these teams, in this top 5 in the Central Division, and thus with a chance to see playoff action, but not necessarily get in. These Preds don't seem to be anywhere close. Lots of issues. If anyone who's interested, go in the past episodes of the Locked On Preds podcast. Watch the episodes. I've watched quite a few of those. Season preview, SDPN YouTube channel about how supposedly good the offseason has been for the Preds. Well, certainly not anything but. It may very well be that the Preds will go on a roll. It's not likely that'll happen, mind you. I see it more likely that the Preds will finish more like the 2020-2022 Habs did than the Preds of last season did. And that's a major difference here. It'll be unusual to not see the Preds in the postseason after having qualified quite easily, relatively so, last season. Went on a roll. It wasn't easy to get in, but make no mistake, the Preds did get in. So it'll be very interesting to find out. I'm going to move on. So before I wrap this video, I do encourage anyone who likes the video to give a thumbs up, like the video, click that like button. It's easy to do. We found at the bottom of where the screen is, like immediately, like a few millimeters or whatever, depending on the device. If you want to subscribe to my channel, have more content about hockey videos and all that. Keep in mind this video features a discussion of a Canadian NHL team, and like why would I include it? It's that theme. If you want more time notifications of videos that I put out, whether short or long ones, do encourage anyone to click that notification bell. I try to put out videos, whether short or long ones, multiple times a week. On that note, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to discuss an upcoming video the Oilers' not so good start to their regular season, albeit with more hope that I have for them to get out of the hole that they're in, as opposed to the Preds.